Number 9. Jeffney Pally. After a night of drinking at an off-campus party in 2016, Jeffney Pally, a 19-year-old student from the University of Connecticut, fell asleep with her back against a fire department garage door. Later that night, one of the department's SUVs ran over Pally after responding to what turned out to be a false alarm. The young woman's devastated parents, Abraham and Shinimal Chimarapalli, sued the state, the fire department driver, and the Kappa Sigma fraternity in connection with their daughter's death. They accused the fraternity of hosting the party where Jeffney got drunk. The lawsuit also included allegations of negligence and recklessness. A judge dismissed the couple's civil allegations against the driver, Dana Barrow, who unintentionally mowed Jeffney down. However, according to the state attorney general's office, the Chimarapallis were given a settlement of just over $1 million. A statement was released to the press which explained that the state was insured for situations where state employees were driving vehicles involved in accidents. In the end, the insurer would be responsible for covering the payout. Through their lawyer, the couple stated that although the settlement could never replace their daughter, they felt that the case was resolved in a fair and just manner. The Chimarapallis still mourn the loss of their daughter every day, but the large sum of money would help ease some of their pain in the years to come. Number 8. Human error. In July of this year, 10 out of its 120 alarms went off at a nuclear plant in Seabrook, New Hampshire. This incident triggered a major emergency response that required a large number of people to evacuate the area. However, as it turned out, there was no real emergency, begging the question of how and why the alarm system was triggered. An investigation found that there was nothing wrong with the sirens and blamed the malfunction on human error. In other words, someone working at the plant did something to falsely trigger the alarms, causing a needless uproar and panic. To prevent an inconvenient and terrifying situation like this from ever happening again, officials have implemented new procedures. Included among the new protocols is a requirement to send information to both the media and law enforcement at the same time to avoid any misunderstandings. After all, when the press gets its hands on a piece of information, everyone knows about it. When all agencies in charge of keeping the public safe are informed about future incidents at the same time, it will be easier to discern between a false alarm and a legitimate emergency. Additionally, officials said that the plant will continue to perform silent alarm tests every 2 weeks. Employees who are in charge of performing the tests will now undergo additional training and more personnel will be added. All pre-programmed commands will also be removed from the testing system to avoid human error in the future. According to Seabrook Station spokesman Bill Orlove in an interview with local station WMUR, these measures will help to keep the community safe. He stressed that the safety of both the residential community and surrounding businesses are of utmost importance to the plant. He continued saying that the Seabrook Station's leaders were already considering replacing the 30-year-old alarm system before the false warning happened and are still planning to do so. Number 7. Airport Stampede. In August 2022, chaos broke out at Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas when passengers heard a loud noise and mistook it as gunfire. False reports of an active shooter began circulating among panicked customers, and a stampede ensued, compromising several security checkpoints in the process. The Las Vegas Metro Police Department later revealed that the noise was likely caused by an unruly customer, but that it certainly wasn't gunshots. A spokesperson described the ordeal as a security incident and reassured the public that the disorderly passenger had been taken into custody. Authorities posted tweets clarifying that the claims of gunfire were unfounded. During the chaos, several TSA agents abandoned their posts, enabling numerous customers to pass through security unchecked. Viral footage shows travelers walking right through metal detectors with their shoes on and their luggage in hand, with no agents in sight. Consequently, all passengers had to exit the airport and go through screening again, leading to several flight delays. Lines were backed up all the way to the parking garage as people waited to get back into the airport and board their flights. A TSA spokesperson told Fox 5 News that security agents responded appropriately by running and hiding when they heard there was an active shooter in the building. Surprisingly, security guards are not supposed to respond to threats the same way police officers would. Instead, they're instructed to run, hide, fight. In other words, a direct confrontation with a dangerous person should be avoided at all costs and is a job that should be left to law enforcement. Tawana Malpress, who was on her way back to Orlando after getting married in Vegas, told the news station, "It did actually sound like gunshots." So it's understandable that even trained professionals panicked and responded according to their training. This incident was the third false alarm at the Vegas airport in less than 3 months. Number 6. Swatting. In recent years, a disturbing new trend known as swatting has taken off. It happens when a false report is made to authorities about another person allegedly being dangerous, and the goal is to prompt a SWAT team response to the victim's home. Swatting is especially popular among gamers who are looking to get revenge against fellow players. It's not always just a harmless prank, as a California man named Tyler Barris would come to learn. In late 2017, 2 men got into an online dispute over a Call of Duty game. One of the players, Shane Gaskill, gave his opponent Casey Viner a fake address in Wichita, Kansas, claiming that he lived there. In reality, the home was occupied by a man named Andrew Finch, who had nothing to do with the video game-related spat. Viner asked his friend, 25-year-old Tyler Barris, to call the police with false claims to initiate a swatting against Gaskill. Barris agreed and called the Wichita Police Department, pretending to be a local. He claimed that someone had fatally shot his father at Finch's address. While responding to the call, officers shot Finch as he was exiting his home. They were seemingly unaware that they had been misdirected to the wrong address over totally bogus claims. 3 other household members were handcuffed and taken down to the station for questioning, only to realize that a horrible mistake had been made. At the time, Barris was homeless in Los Angeles. Authorities traced the false call to him, and he was extradited to Kansas, where he was charged with involuntary manslaughter. Barris was then sentenced to 20 years in prison for his crime. Viner received a 15-month sentence, plus 2 years probation for his role in Finch's death, and was also banned from playing video games during this time. Gaskill received a suspended sentence and agreed to pay a $1,000 fine. Number 5. Paul Keener. While responding to an emergency call in the village of Forest Row in 2015, 23-year-old British firefighter Paul Keener's life was tragically cut short. The father of 2 had been a member of the department since 2011, when the 999 call came in late that night. He sprang into action, but was unfortunately involved in a fatal car accident on his way to the scene. To make matters worse, it was later revealed that the call Paul was responding to was nothing but a false alarm. He was remembered by his family and friends as having a big personality and for a sense of humor and kindness. Paul also performed several heroic deeds throughout his short firefighting career. Most notably, in 2013, he rescued a couple and their baby after their car became stranded in the snow. Number 4. A strange suspect. An apparently troubled man was staying in a hotel in Midvale, Utah in August of this year when he dialed 911 twice and asked for the police to come and help him. They responded to the call, placed by 54-year-old Donald James Lake Pelton, only to find that he didn't want to open the door to his room. In fact, he refused to speak to the officers, even through the door, and he wouldn't explain why he dialed 911. Not knowing what else to do, but lacking probable cause to break the door down, the police left the scene. However, they were soon called back to the hotel after a fire alarm went off inside the building. When they arrived the second time, they went straight to Pelton's room and noticed a large amount of water seeping out from beneath the door. The officers tried to make contact with Pelton, but once again, they were unsuccessful. It appeared as though he wanted nothing to do with the officers. By then, the hotel's managers were fed up with the situation. They asked the police to break Pelton's door down to prevent him from doing any more damage to the building. Once they got inside, officials took the suspect into custody without further incident. According to court documents, the room appeared to be deliberately flooded, and the fire alarm was ripped off the wall. Unfortunately, the water had damaged neighboring rooms as well. Altogether, the damages totaled around $17,000, and Pelton could be responsible for the bill. Police charged him with criminal mischief, causing loss exceeding $5,000, abuse of reporting an emergency, disorderly conduct, and calling a false alarm. The man will now have to answer for his alleged actions in court. Number 3. Missing beachgoer. Multiple law enforcement and rescue agencies sprang into action in August of this year when they received a report of a man who had apparently gone missing near the water in Dorchester, Massachusetts. They were informed that the man was seen in the water near a local beach in the early morning hours, and officials rushed to the scene. However, this was not the case, and he was nowhere to be found. Eyewitnesses reported seeing 2 men in their 20s and 30s fighting near Beeds Bridge about 45 minutes before the incident. As state troopers arrived, they saw one of the men jump into the water and began to look for him when he failed to resurface. A 3-hour search for the missing man ensued with no luck, causing officials to fear that the worst had happened. They were confused but relieved when they received a call that the man was okay. When he found out that people were worried about him, he called his friend to let him know that he was perfectly fine, and the message was then passed on to authorities. The story checked out, and he was found at his workplace, unharmed. While it came as good news to learn that the man was not in fact in the water, it didn't answer all the questions surrounding the bizarre incident. They weren't sure how and why an abandoned 2008 Ford Crown Victoria ended up near the scene, and officials told the press that an investigation was still ongoing. Number 2. Flight malfunction. A plane from the India-based Go First Airline was traveling from the city of Bengaluru to the Maldives with 92 passengers on board when the pilot had to make an emergency landing in the city of Coimbatore. The aircraft was flying above the city in Tamil Nadu when its smoke alarm suddenly went off. According to officials, it turned out to be a false alarm, and they explained that the plane's twin engines overheated, causing the sensor to go off. As scary as the ordeal undoubtedly was for the passengers, they learned that the aircraft was found to be in good flying condition. The plane was thoroughly examined by engineers, and no issues were found, except that the alarm had malfunctioned. Even though the incident turned out to be nothing, the flight crew acted quickly and responded at the first signs of danger. This false alarm occurred during a time when technical malfunctions on flights throughout India gained the attention of the country's top-ranking officials. Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia met with airlines last month to address the ongoing problems. In other words, the chances of these issues being a real safety hazard were high. Luckily, the ordeal didn't add to the seemingly ever-expanding list of in-flight malfunctions in India. Number 1. Monkeypox scare. Since the onset of the global COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, it's fair to say that people around the world have become far more cautious about the spread of disease. In recent months, a new sickness called monkeypox has begun to spread, leading to growing concerns that it could symbolize the beginning of yet another pandemic. So it's not surprising that authorities are being extremely careful when it comes to screening travelers for any signs of a contagious illness. However, sometimes these fears lead to an overabundance of caution, as one California woman recently learned while boarding a Spirit Airlines flight in Los Angeles. On August 4th, 2022, Jacqueline Nguyen posted a TikTok video explaining a humiliating experience she had with the airline. She and her wife had just gotten on their plane when staff members asked her to leave the aircraft. Much to Jacqueline's embarrassment, they had noticed she was suffering from a skin condition and were concerned that it might be monkeypox. She clarified that it was eczema, something she suffered with her entire life. After much convincing, the airline finally believed her when she showed them her eczema cream. Although the misunderstanding was cleared up, Jacqueline still felt ashamed about the whole ordeal. In her TikTok video, she explained how it felt like everyone was staring at her, and she tried to hide her face with her hair after being let back onto the plane. Jacqueline made a good point in explaining how it's not hard to show people some compassion, even when an airline has to take precautions. After all, there are a lot of skin conditions, eczema, acne, or even just a rash, that could easily be mistaken for a contagious illness. These misunderstandings put a lot of innocent passengers at risk of a similarly embarrassing experience. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have your flight delayed for 10 hours due to a false alarm, or be evacuated from your local hotel in the middle of the night due to an unruly guest flooding your wing? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time for more amazing videos. Bye!